Thank you so much to our speakers that have come today. To Razlin's point, I will also be telling my husband that he needs to have dishwashing meditation today. But essentially, I want to get straight into our discussion. But before that, just wanted to reiterate all the things that we kind of heard today. So we just heard how Bhutan is redefining what happiness is, what this looks like, the indicators that are necessary for us to have, or to redefine and look at what success really is. So earlier, even Professor Ng, I love how you mentioned the importance of never being satisfied. What does this look like? What should we bring to the table? And I have two gentlemen here that have done exactly that. So together, we'll explore how core values that both companies have guided their strategies, how they're continuing to adopt this in today's changing times. So I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Harald Link, Mr. Bey Soo Khiang for both B.Grimm and RGE. But to start us off, before we get into all of the questions that we have for today, so let's take a quick look at how each organization is bringing this purpose to life.
It's time to bring harmony back to the forest. Please join us. Save the tigers.
We see B.Grimm, Thailand's oldest industrial company, as an integral part of society, building long-term businesses and helping social causes important to society. Thailand is fortunate that the government, with our support, still has a chance to save the tiger, one of Asia's most majestic animals. Classical music is important for our souls. Through our Royal Bangkok Symphony Orchestra and the attached music school, we reach out to all ages of society. In horse sport, we can completely forget ourselves and be one with our horse. For children, it gives them love and compassion for animals. With compassion, businesses can exist in harmony with nature and communities, preserve them, and help them grow.
RGE operates at the heart of the bioeconomy, where the source material for life's essential goods is grown and processed into the products we rely on throughout our everyday lives. We create renewable and sustainable solutions to tackle some of the greatest challenges facing our planet. Our bio-based products replace plastics. Our alternative sources of energy reduce carbon emissions. And our eco-friendly materials are used in sustainable, recyclable, and biodegradable products used by billions of people every day. As one of the largest makers of sustainably produced resources in the world, we believe that to create a better future, better results, and better end products, we need to get things right from the start. That commitment to sustainable development underpins everything we do, as we strive to implement our 5Cs business philosophy, that everything we do must be good for the community, good for the country, good for the climate, good for the customer, and only then will it be good for the company. Based in Singapore, RGE companies hold assets exceeding $40 billion and employ over 80,000 people working throughout our operations in Indonesia, China, Brazil, Canada, Spain, and Malaysia.
And we are serving as a steward to rehabilitate the world's most precious natural ecosystems. Because to create a better future, we need to get things right from the start. The bioeconomy starts here. RGE.
Okay, maybe a round of applause looking at these videos. Love to see that there are actually a lot of different synergies between both companies, right? Both long-standing family businesses working in the region, based in the region, but have expanded globally. So maybe I just want to throw this question to Dr. Link first. So both RGE, and to both of you actually to kick us off, both RGE B.Grimm are long-standing businesses that have faced rising challenges, shifts in the global landscape. For B.Grimm's case, it's been over 150 years of operations. Has this experience changed how you approach doing business? Today's geopolitical landscape, for example, I think has been top of mind for a lot of people. Has this changed how you're doing business, how you're operating in Thailand, globally, and how have you navigated these shifts and trends in your roles?
Thank you. So thank you for being here. Stewardship is, I think, really a most amazing and really good concept. So our family has been thinking about that since the very beginning. I think we live in a world that gives us opportunity to whatever we want. And actually the world has been never in such a wonderful shape. But we just like to concentrate on all the terrible things happening instead of enjoying our life as it is. And we just learn that if you live with compassion and mindfulness, you can create the happiness in yourself. So our family has been going, our company has been going through many ups and downs. So my grandfather was expropriated twice. And when I joined, I tried to watch what actually have they been doing and how they have been doing things. And we just follow in the same vein and try to make society as the cornerstone of what we want, where we want to contribute. And then when we think we have something we can contribute, make the society a better place, then we go into that direction and always look, of course, after our communities and our people in the company. So if the people in the company are happy and do well for themselves and for the company and for society, then I think the end result is automatically positive.
And I love how Dasho Karma actually mentioned we're in a point of time in society that we should be flourishing. We should be. There's a lot of tensions happening, and as you said, and I guess to your point, B.Grimm has continued to just focus on community and society, correct?
Yes.
So maybe, Mr. Bey, you can share maybe what is RGE doing, what is April doing actually with all of these different tensions, with the tariffs, supply chains all being disrupted across the globe. Have your priorities shifted?
First, let me say it's an honor to be here, and it's a pleasure as well. Secondly, we have been operating for many years, over the last 50 years, with the purpose of improving lives by managing resource sustainably. And as you have heard, we translate into 5 C's, and we actually then translate into very specific plans over a long period of 10 years, for instance. We call this April 2030 plan, which essentially helps us embed our purpose and 5 C's into the way we do business, and eventually we hope to embed it into the DNA of every single employee that we have. We don't have happiness index, but we do measure engagement index as a proxy. And our engagement survey has been very positive results from the employees. So embedding into the April 2030 was something we did in 2020. It's 5 years ago already, and we are already reviewing the midterm results and looking ahead. Essentially, I think, just a quick summary, it covers decarbonization, nature solutions, community in terms of inclusive progress, as well as sustainable growth. And we have been updating this, along the way. On top of that, we continue to evolve in terms of best practices, because one thing is about putting a 10-year plan. The other thing is about updating it with latest knowledge and latest best practices and so on and so forth. So that's another way for us to make sure that our business continues to last long and be relevant in the society today. The third approach we take is been data-centric, and evidence-based in the way we do business, so that we know where we come from and where we are going and can make changes along the way. So as example, we invested close to $4 million to install 4 gold standard flux towers in our plantation landscapes to measure the carbon sequestration or emissions. And at the end of a 5-year cycle, we have published already a paper, peer-reviewed and published in a Nature journal. So that's one of the way. The third way is to be able to allocate resources, financial resources, to projects. For instance, our conservation area, twice the size of Singapore, called RER, Real Ecosystem Restoration, requires funding every year to support its restoration as well as conservation activities. And as a matter of commitment, we have made that for every ton of wood I bring from a plantation to the mill, I commit $1 into a conservation fund, which is then used to support the operation activities in the conservation area. That way, the conservation area, the operation staff has a secure funding for until the end of its concession life, so to speak. And actually more than that, we are scaling up because some of the money we are able to support other conservation areas that are in financial distress because their funders have somewhat reduced their funding. So we have been able to do that in terms of, for new business growth, again, we talk about the kind of growth that will support the 5 Cs. So one example is we're using waste from palm oil production to produce sustainable aviation fuel. And we have a project with Moevi in Spain to construct a sustainable aviation fuel production plant that will produce 500,000 ton capacity. That way people can fly for pleasure or for business with much less reduced impact on carbon emission. Another project which we have embarked on is generation of solar renewable energy. So we are a project with Total to take part of our plantation land to construct a solar farm for 2 gigawatts of renewable energy. 1 gigawatt to be exported to Singapore, another gigawatt for local consumption. So in all our new businesses, we are always focusing on making sure they are aligned with the purpose and with the 5 Cs. So that way we hope we can have longevity in the business.
So the geopolitical tensions that are happening right now, it's not having any say because you guys...
Well, of course, it does impact on our business, but the good news is that, we are not going to pull back. I know a lot of companies are pulling back, even the bank, the net zero banking alliance is breaking down. But as a company, the very reason why we have a purpose is always to go back to it and make sure that we hold true to our purpose, and following the North Star, so to speak. So we are not going to pull back, and we're going to continue to press on.
No, that's great to hear. And in this current landscape that we have, we need to continue innovating very well. It can't stop just because of what's happening kind of in the background as well.
But the changes are not altogether negative. They are positive, like AI development. How do we use AI in biodiversity survey, in identifying numbers, and so on and so forth? How do we use AI to ensure there are no illegal encroachment in our conservation area as well as plantation? So where there are positive impacts of changes, we try to invite them, try to bring it into the company.
No, that's great. And I know B.Grimm is actually embarking on different conservation strategies as well. And you guys are continually innovating across different verticals of your business. So I know we've talked, Dr. Link, about how different terms like ESG, CSR, they're continuously evolving, right? And they're reflecting shifting standards, regulatory norms of what's happening in our current landscape, but you've stayed true that compassion is the way of doing business, regardless of what standards we have. And many family businesses like RGE, B.Grimm, because of these values and purpose, you've stayed true to that. So just wanted to hear, so how have you ensured that through all this, through the shifting norms that we have, that values and purpose continue to guide this business that you've held for over a century, and really looking towards the vision of empowering the world compassionately? How have you done this?
I think what's really important is you have to talk about it every day. Otherwise, people get caught up in kind of what you want to achieve today. So the most important is really that everybody understands the purpose. So what does it mean? I mean, doing business with compassion, if you listen to Dasho Karma, then it becomes very easy to understand. So that goes for the whole country. And we can do it for the company as well. And I think you told me, Annisah, you thought that you like the language that people in B.Grimm use.
Yes.
So
we don't see it very often. We don't see it very often, actually, that compassion that's the way to do business.
So from time to time, we look at the vision of the different companies again. So doing business with compassion is for the whole B.Grimm, for every company. And then from time to time, we look at it again. So in the power company, we had becoming a worldwide energy company. No, not a. See, I even forgot the former. So we wanted to become an excellent energy company. And then we thought that, okay, now our measures for all what we do, they are already at the same standard as the most international companies. So we have to have something new. So we have a room, maybe not as big as this, but maybe half, and ask everybody in the company to come and join and try to define our new vision. And then every table came up with one. And then to our amazement, those in the power plants, they come up with empowering the world compassionately. And I was really stunned, because we always talk about doing business with compassion, but talking about it and believing it yourself is completely different. And the other is, I always wanted B.Grimm to become a worldwide company, because this is something which my uncles and my father didn't want to do yet. And so they came up with it. So instead of having to ask everybody to go out in the world, they came up with themselves. So, wow. So have something that is lived by everybody in the company. I think this is something we aspire to. And when you have the leadership in yourself, and when you really believe in the vision of the company, then they all come together to do it. And we really want to make a B.Grimm an institution, not a company dependent on the family leader. And I think that way we are slowly getting there. And we live in a mainly Buddhist country. And we know from Buddhism that the suffering comes from attachment. So if we are not attached to being the owners or being the ones who make things happen, but build an institution where we can be real stewards, so it will go on for a long time in the future, I think then we can happily depart from this world and maybe hope to come back in a better world, and so pass on the company in a better shape than we found it, and let them keep it going.
No, and actually this is a perfect segue to my next question for you, Mr. Bey, because Dr. Link is coming from, I guess, the hat of an owner of a part of the family. You have a very unique position coming in as an external executive within a family business. So maybe I ask you, you talked about the values, you talked about the purpose. So within your role, how do you ensure that these ambitions, the sustainable aviation fuel, the innovation, the innovative things you're doing globally, are maintained with the values and purpose? Have there been any challenges?
Certainly. I mean, one of the very reasons why I joined RGE 14 years ago was I visited them and saw how they operated. And of course, talking to the owner, I was quite fascinated with their business model, being a stewardship leadership, so to speak. Yeah. But being professionals, of course, the owners brings conviction and purpose and directions, right? And more importantly, money, resources. As professionals, our job is really to first work with them to agree to what good looks like, right? What good looks like. And hopefully some of these can be made into very tangible public commitment. Like for us, a 1-to-1 for every hectare of plantation, we want to have 1 hectare of conservation area. For every ton of wood I bring to the mill, I want to have $1 tax, so to speak, into the conservation fund. So these are commitments which we kind of hope bring it about with the agreement. And then of course our job is to set the governance in place, the framework for development. And like the April 2030, we actually brought all the senior executives and leadership at every level into a town hall working group and work through it. Is a way for me to inculcate the purpose, the 5 C's, and even the core values into everyone that's in the hall at that day. And they take ownership at the end of it, and then because they're going to implement it. And of course, we have to get agreement of allocation of resources accordingly. But once you have set it in place in a logical framework, it's not difficult. And the good thing about family business, from my perspective, in my experience, is that the decision cycle is very short.
Yes.
It's between him and I, and and once he agrees, the next question is, when can you get it done? And that's always the pressure that comes about. So while there are challenges working with family owners, there are also very positive side as well.
Okay, and we've clearly seen that with the 2030 goals that April and RGE have been achieving so far. So maybe I just want to go towards our audience question. There's a lot of questions coming in. If you haven't done already, please put your questions in for our consideration. So maybe I just wanted to show our first question. It's coming up. Okay. In an era where every company claims to be green, claims to be sustainable, AI-driven, how can leaders prove authenticity and avoid falling into a greenwashing or AI washing? Maybe Dr. Link, if you want to kick us off.
Thank you. Yeah, so now there are many companies, sorry to say, there are many companies that want to be data-driven or AI-driven. We definitely will never be that. So we will always want to be compassionate-driven. We will always be driven by doing something good for society. And we just heard also from my colleague here that they are doing that. So we will never do AI-driven. And I don't know why you want to be driven by a tool. So green, I think green, actually, I don't see this green so much, but every website in the whole world now is a sustainable company.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not such a fan of sustainability because I rather prefer progress. And so, actually, I love the idea of stewardship because it takes everything together. And of course, the other thing I love is the concepts of religion, the concepts of Buddhism. You don't have to invent CSR and ESG and I don't know what. You can just take the tenets of that is there, but really live it and really do it. So we try to have authenticity, and anybody can hold us to that standard. And of course, I think there are many instances where we are definitely not green. So we produce a lot of electricity with gas. But people want to have power day and night. Like we can't tell them that the sun is not shining and the wind is not there, and they don't want to pay. So they, in Thailand especially, they reduce the electricity price all the time, but the gas price goes up. So it's very difficult to do that. But now batteries are getting cheaper, and so maybe one day we can just avoid using gas. But as
But
of
I guess
today,
to your point,
can't.
you don't have to prove to be authentic on your website and to put their sustainability, because you guys are already trying to be innovative and compassionate in your work.
Yes. So
Mr. Bey, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, one of our guiding principles is better well done than well said. Because we are very conscious of the issue of greenwashing. If anything, my complaint or my unhappiness about the company is quite often we leave it a little bit too late to tell the good that we did. But in any case, we adopt, from a governance perspective, total transparency. Some of you have visited our manufacturing complex in Sumatra. And the whole idea is really, we are open to visitors, whether it's bankers, other senior officials. Go and see for yourself. Don't believe what I say. Believe what we do on the ground. And that's our principle. And even from Sustainable Forest Management Policy in 2013, we convened an independent stakeholder advisory committee comprising people, senior people from business, from forestry, from social sector. And their job, their sole purpose in life was to make sure we do what we say we will do. And every year they have KPMG Canada to do audit for them to make sure that we follow all our sustainable commitments. And it's reported openly in the social media. So this is a transparency we talk about. And even if there's allegation of greenwashing, we are very happy to take a look at it. Our approach is whatever you tell us, we can verify on the ground, ground-proof it. And if it's true we made a mistake, we own up, we say we made a mistake, we will rectify it. If we didn't do anything wrong, we'll tell you this is the reason and this is why. Your allegations is not true. So that's greenwashing, our approach to it, transparency and openness approach. AI washing. For us, even to apply AI, we need a real solid business case. There must be tangible returns for the application of AI in the way we do it on business. So I have no fear about AI washing because we are very deliberate in the application of technology into our business. It must add value to the business.
Can I come back to something from before? I think what Dasho Karma said is so important. So you have to try to go into yourself and are you really, do you really believe in saving the world? Are you believing green? You really want to do something with compassion? Are you a person like that? Can you control your anger? Can you maybe just notice it's coming up and that not living it out, not letting other people suffer from it? So I think actually if in every company we try to make life for the people in the company good so that they can do the best for society and they're really fully there, and train mindfulness, which we also do, then I think you have the basic to try to be really good. But if you don't have the tools, if you believe in competition is the thing, and then the one sitting next to you is your worst competitor, and be in an environment like that, then it's very difficult to not to just say things and do them, but to really believe that is what you should do with your life. Because in the company you're only short time, because you have a whole life. You do something with with your spouse, you do something with your children. Can you imagine everything we do towards our children, that will be with them the whole life. Yeah. So I really appreciate this. So, and we brought the Gross National Happiness Center ideas into our company and trying to implement them every day.
Can you actually elaborate on that? I don't think a lot of people know. I think people kind of see happiness as something that can essentially be measured as an intangible, right? How have you adapted this in your company?
So we somehow became close to family in Bhutan and traveled many times there. And then one day we had the opportunity to bring the Gross National Happiness Center to Thailand into our company and had a lot of interaction with them and still do that. So I love really these 4 pillars. And social economic development, so you have development, not stand still. You look after your culture, you look after environment, and you have good governance. So I think with all that, people feel really happy in the company. But then if you can, I listened to I listened to a monk, and he wrote The Joy of Living. And he said, even when you stand at a red light, you can just look at the red light and just see it's red. And when it changes to green, you drive on. That's meditation as well. So I really believe your dishwashing meditation is it's a real thing. And so we just slowly have to understand these concepts, try to live them, and then we find out that even in the worst crisis, we are calm. Yeah. You can see there was an earthquake in Bangkok.
Yes.
And I was sitting with 2 Japanese, we were completely calm. But when I came down and told our young people, you can go home now, they said, no, we can't. And why not? Because we left our phone, we left our purse, we left everything upstairs. So I just think that we have to keep on developing mindfulness, concentration, and the idea of doing business with compassion as something, what you just said, doing and not saying. And then if it's in every part of the company, then I think the society will become better by itself.
Okay, and maybe I just have a question that's had a lot of votes from the audience, because we're talking a lot from the perspective of both of you from family businesses. What does this actually mean for non-family businesses? Should come up soon. So both gentlemen represent family businesses. I assume the founder's values and mentality is embedded in the organization's DNA. How can this advantage be translated to non-family businesses and many that are out here today?
There's a book called Start with the Why. Very small, everybody can read it. So the idea is you start, why am I here in this world? What is the purpose of the company? What we're doing here? And that applies to family businesses and non-family business, everybody. But you have to have the leader walk the talk. They will have to want it and they have to believe in it. Now we work with many, many international companies, and then you see different ways of going about it. There was one we worked with, and they developed the vision among 2 people, so the CEO and the head chief designer. So how can you get a buy-in? You just tell people this is what we want to do. But if you understand your company quite well and you get a room like this and let everybody participate and what should be actually our purpose, what should it be, and then what are our values? I know so many companies and I read all the values, and then when I was asked the people in the company, what are your values, they have no clue. So you have to live it, do it, talk about it, and I think this talking about it a lot is really important, and getting this room full of your people and let them work on it and come back a number of times until you finally come to the result where everybody thinks, yeah, that is me, that is us. Then it doesn't really matter you're family-owned or not family-owned, but of course, you have to involve your board members as well. You have your board members, and if you have some bigger shareholders, involve them.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Bey, any thoughts on this?
Well, I think, one of the positive changing trend is that we are moving from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism,
Yes.
which essentially is pointing to steward leadership, right? And so there's a positive trend, and hopefully businesses are beginning to realize, or business leaders are beginning to realize. And the other trend that's happening in Singapore is what the MDPC is doing, creating the company of good culture, you know, which as a Singaporean, I help contribute and share with the various companies from whether it's SME or public listed company, you know, what we do, you know, as a matter of practices and so on, to help them and convince them on the journey to become a company of good, looking after not only the company, but more interestingly, environment and the community as well. And of course, stewardship, steward leadership, Stewardship Asia Center is a catalyst. You know, you can bring leaders in from various sectors and start, so to speak, preaching the concept of steward leadership. And I think, you know, slowly we're beginning to feel that impact over time. It cannot be overnight change. But there'll come a time, I believe, the tipping point will happen and everybody will be looking at steward leadership. And for every leader, whether you're in a family business or non-family business, as what Kun Ling said, the key question is why? Why are you leading? You know, and if you cannot have a good answer to why, you should attend a course in Steward Leadership Center.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Bey. And actually, I was going to share this as something that we battle with again at SAC, is because a lot of people, a lot of family businesses resonate with the concept of steward leadership, but actually not all family businesses are steward leaders. It takes much more than that, actually. Yes, you can resonate with passing assets on to the next generation, but it really requires that purpose, these values. So not every company can do that. So it's a choice. And clearly you've both made that choice in your respective roles.
Yeah.
So maybe I just share where the last question, since we're closing up on time. So reflecting, for both of you, reflecting on your experiences leading long-standing businesses, what key lessons or piece of advice would you give future leaders? I think we've been talking a lot, especially Dr. Karma brought up the fact that you're working with a lot of youth, the next generation of future leaders. So what piece of advice would you give them on embedding purpose, sustainability, steward leadership into their organizations to ensure they can thrive for decades and over a century? Mr. Bey, do you want to start?
Well, the first advice I can give you is don't listen to everything I say. You have to think through what I say and see whether it really applies in your context. Challenges, you know, I mean, first is of course making commitments. Be very wary that, you know, commitments is reputational in that sense. If you make a commitment to do something and you don't do it, you have lose credibility completely. So be wary about making commitments, especially long-term commitments. I mean, the reason why we had April 2030 and not April 2050 is because we want to have the senior leadership who is in today, who is going to be there in 10 years' time to answer for what they have done from the very beginning of the decade to the end of the decade, right? So there must be line of sight, accountability from that point of view. Second point I want to say is that this journey, like what Professor Ivy say, you have to bring a whole village along. You can be very top down, the family can say it, senior leadership can say it, but if you don't bring every level of leadership and every single employee onto the same boat, rowing in the same direction, then you have lost everything. So bring everybody together in this journey.
Okay. And Dr. Link, any last words for this next generation?
One advice would listen to Mr. Bey, Dr. Ivy, and Dr. Karma. I think nowadays we have this great university called YouTube. So there are many great people you can listen to and see what they say and see how it sounds with you, resounds with you. The first thing I think you have to ask yourself, what good can I bring to the organization I lead? What good can I bring to society? And then I think that question you have to answer first. And then you just say, take along the village. Don't think you are smart and you are God gift to mankind. But see that actually all the people that are in the company, there must be a reason why they have been asked to join. So take the common knowledge, the common wisdom, and try to implement it in leading. I think actually many great leaders didn't really desire to be a leader, or they just became a leader because they exhibit these qualities that they try to bring everybody along, and they want to create a really positive impact into the world. And so I think this is, if you cannot create a positive impact to your organization, to the world or society, please don't become a leader. So if you're, on the other hand, please do become a leader, and then the world should be a better place after you've left. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Dr. Link. And on that note, we'll end our panel. Can we give a round of applause to our speakers? Okay.